Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Betting the Bucks with Owen Smith here from the Buckeye Breakdown crew. Last week was the first episode. I will admit it took me like 20 times to record that, and it wasn't the best, but we got some viewers, so we're back again. As you can see on the screen, we went 3-3. I would say on the reasonable bets, those were the three wins. Over on a Mecca was the one that we hit on early. The first quarter total, the first half total, those were all reasonable bets. And then I got a little greedy. I decided to chase those plus odds and ended up ultimately losing that on Jeremiah Smith first touchdown, Will Howard over 4 passing touchdowns, and I think the under or something crazy. Either way, it doesn't matter. They lost, but we went 3-3. So overall, pretty happy with the performance against Marshall. Clearly, we want to be boosting the units and not losing a little. So we're back with another 6 bets to go through. I would say these are a little more reasonable than what we led with last week, but either way, we have a night game. We have a first away game. We have a first Big Ten game. So clearly the odds are changing around. There's a lot of movement, but I'm still bullish on both the offense and defensive side of the ball. And you'll see that reflected in the bets today. So again, have 6 bets. I'll rattle them off real quick, give my thoughts behind it, and then let you carry on, watch some Buckeye football and some other good football that's going around the college football world tomorrow and today if you're watching this. So let's start off. This is the bread and butter of betting the Bucks. First quarter total. Last week it was 13.5, and I think the past 3 games were all in that neighborhood of 13.5. The offense isn't struggling. The offense seems to be the strong suit, which is crazy to say, even though the defense has, pitched a shutout and has had some pretty good performances so far. But with Chip Kelly, with just the scheme, the talent, we actually have a good quarterback. Very impressed with what the offense is doing. Some of this, maybe relies on Michigan State contributing something or getting a quick stop on defense, because you ultimately need 2 touchdowns for this one to hit. But I'm leaning in. I think that the Buckeyes get off to a quick start. I think we get a quick stop, and I really don't think that this team's going to be startled coming into Big Ten play, coming into a night road environment in East Lansing. So I'm going to hammer this. This is a plus 114. This is my favorite bet, which is why I'm leading off with it, and hope that the Buckeyes prove me right there. And again, just need 2 touchdowns, and that could be an early drive from Michigan State, which I don't think is going to happen, but we'll get over to that. Either way, points are points. Let's take the over 10.5 here. The next bet, I'm leaning back into the young guy, Jeremiah Smith. Last week we leaned into Emeka Ibuka. Kind of, 2 sides to why we led into Emeka last week. And then now it's like, all right, I'm going to lean back into Jeremiah. Jeremiah Smith clearly is getting a lot more attention. People are starting to recognize him more outside of Ohio State. And getting that national recognition. So his numbers were juiced a little bit last week, in my opinion. They've settled down a little bit again, probably accounting for the road environment and that boost from Emeka Ibuka. But I'm going to go on the over 76.5 receiving yards. He's averaging 93 a game right now. Clearly, some of that's boosted from week 2. But I think that we can get this even on one drive. Just with how this offense is structured, we can rattle off 76-yard or a 77-yard touchdown pretty easily. And I think Jeremiah Smith is going to be a staple of this game. And he's going to be left in longer. I don't think that Michigan State's going to put up a huge fight here. But I do think that to get that road night environment, kind of prep for what they're going to see in just a couple of weeks out there in Eugene and Oregon. So I think they're going to let these guys play a little more deeper into the game as well, even if it's not a close matchup. So hammering the over 76.5 receiving yards for Jeremiah Smith. I'm also hammering the over. Quinshon Judkins over 77.5 rushing yards, currently averaging 112 per game. Can clearly rattle this off pretty quickly on a drive as well. Clearly, Michigan State's not Marshall and some of these other opponents, but averaging 9 a carry. I think he's the true RB1 in this offense. Again, Chip Kelly, the offensive line, just how all of this is working together. I was a little surprised at this number. I will say I was a little surprised that this number wasn't like 87.5. So I could be getting caught off guard here, but this seemed like a no-brainer to me with what he's done so far. Now, getting a little risky here. I'm leaning into 2 running backs hitting their overs. Trevion Henderson is a little more on par with this number for his average yards per game, currently at 69 yards per game, 8.6 per carry. He's clearly getting less carries, and he seems to be more of a staple in the passing game. So didn't really love any of the props I saw for passing and receiving. But again, like just with how explosive this offense can be, 64.5 from Trevion's not that much. And again, I think that these guys are going to be playing later into the game. So leaning into both running backs for this episode. Okay, now let's carry on to the next bet. Let's see if I can get the right thing up here. Okay, we got it. Now I'm back to the defense. Offense, I'm bullish on. They're going to hit all the overs. They're going to score a bunch of points, all that fun stuff. Now defense, different story. Looked a little iffy. Michigan State or at Marshall, Michigan State poses a little more of a threat with Aiden Childs, some more athletes on the field ultimately under Jonathan Smith. But I think that these guys have something to prove. They've heard the doubters. I think Tyleik Williams is playing. I know like Pete Thamel or somebody reported that he is playing. I know there's no official word from Ohio State, and there may be by the time that you're watching this episode. I think that this team's out to prove something, and what's better than holding your opponent to less than 12 and a half points in a road Big Ten, open it up. Hey, the offense is getting all this love. We didn't even have a silver bullet. I'm leaning into that, and ultimately, I just don't think Michigan State is going to be able to put up much of a fight in any component of this game. And then that leads us to the final one. This is the fun one. This is where I get a little crazy. The odds are a little more juiced, but I am going to take an OSU defense anytime touchdown plus 460 odds. I'm leaning into, again, defense out to prove themselves, but from what I've seen, Aiden Childs seems to turn over the ball quite a bit. I think that there's going to be some sort of forced turnover that would lead to this, whether it's a strip sack for a touchdown or an interception. I don't know, maybe Caleb Downs. I don't know. Maybe he reminds people who he is. But I like the odds on this. I don't love a lot of the other anytime touchdown odds for the Buckeyes. So decided to lean into this and get a little crazy here. So again, first quarter total, Jeremiah Smith, Judkins, Henderson, OSU defense touchdown, and then holding Michigan State to under 12.5 points. So we'll see how we did. Started off 3-3, see if we can make it 4-2 or ultimately 6-0. So thank you everybody for watching and tuning in. We will be back to recap the game on Monday night, live stream here on our YouTube channel. And we'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.